Perfectionism, breaking free from the chains of never enough. Have you ever looked at your own achievements and quietly wondered, why do I still feel so incomplete? Maybe you have spent hours perfecting a project, only to feel a strange emptiness the moment it is done. Perhaps you find yourself scrolling through social media, comparing your real life to the flawless images of others and thinking, why does everyone else seem so perfect while I am always falling short? What if I told you that this restless feeling, this relentless voice whispering, not good enough, is not just a personal flaw but a silent epidemic of our times? What if the very drive for perfection that pushes you forward is actually the thing holding you back from true happiness and fulfillment? Today, let us unravel the hidden costs of perfectionism. Together, we will explore why so many of us are trapped by impossible standards, how perfectionism takes root in our minds, and why embracing imperfection might be the most courageous and liberating decision you ever make. Before you judge yourself for not being perfect, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, who decided what perfect really means? And what if the freedom you have been searching for lies not in flawless achievement but in daring to be imperfectly, authentically you? Understanding perfectionism. Perfectionism is more than wanting to do things well. It is the belief that anything less than flawless is unacceptable and that mistakes are signs of personal failure. This mindset can infect every area of life, work, appearance, relationships, even our daily routines. The perfectionist is not someone who is always perfect. Instead, they are someone who is rarely satisfied, always chasing a moving target. Achievements are quickly forgotten, replaced by new goals that seem just out of reach. The result is a life filled with pressure, anxiety, and self-criticism. The roots of perfectionism. Where does this obsession begin? For many, it starts in childhood. Imagine a child whose parents only praise high grades or visible success. Over time, that child learns that love and approval depend on performance. Or perhaps the child is constantly compared to others, feeling that nothing is ever enough. Society reinforces these beliefs. We live in a world that rewards achievement and punishes failure. Social media magnifies the illusion, showing us only the polished highlights of other people's lives. Rarely do we see the struggles, the doubts, the ordinary days. Instead, we compare our behind-the-scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. At a deeper level, perfectionism can be a shield. By striving for flawlessness, we try to protect ourselves from rejection or disappointment. We believe that if we are perfect, we will be safe, loved, and respected. But this strategy is a trap. The more we chase perfection, the more we notice our flaws and the more anxious we become. The never enough syndrome. One of the most painful effects of perfectionism is the feeling that nothing is ever enough. No matter how much you achieve, there is always something lacking. You might win awards, receive praise, or reach your goals, but instead of feeling satisfied, you quickly move the goalposts. The voice inside whispers, you could have done better. You should have done more. This never enough syndrome leads to chronic dissatisfaction and anxiety. You become trapped in a cycle of striving and self-criticism, unable to enjoy your successes or accept your limitations. Over time, perfectionism erodes self-esteem, damages relationships, and robs you of joy. Perfectionism in everyday life. Let's see how perfectionism shapes our daily experience. Many perfectionists place immense pressure on themselves. Even a small mistake feels catastrophic. This can lead to anxiety, sleepless nights, and exhaustion. Ironically, the fear of not doing something perfectly can cause procrastination. If you are terrified of failing, you might delay starting a task or never finish it at all. Relationships also suffer. When you expect perfection from yourself, you may unconsciously demand it from others. This can lead to disappointment, conflict, and isolation. And above all, perfectionism steals your ability to enjoy life. When you are always focused on what is wrong or what could be better, you miss the beauty and meaning in the present moment. Philosophical perspectives, the beauty of imperfection. Throughout history, philosophers have reflected on the nature of imperfection. In Western thought, thinkers like Paul Tillich said that the courage to be yourself is the courage to accept your own imperfection. Friedrich Nietzsche believed that facing our flaws is essential for growth. He warned that the pursuit of absolute perfection is a dangerous illusion, one that cuts us off from our true selves. Existentialist philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre argued that our freedom and responsibility come precisely from our imperfection. If life were perfect and predetermined, it would lose its meaning. It is our ability to choose, to err, and to learn that gives life its richness. Eastern philosophy offers similar wisdom. In Buddhism, the idea of impermanence teaches that nothing lasts forever and that striving for perfection is futile. Accepting the imperfect nature of life is the first step toward inner peace. Confucian thought reminds us that no one is perfect. The wise person is not the one who never makes mistakes, but the one who learns from them and continues to grow. The cost of perfectionism. Perfectionism is often praised in our culture, but beneath the surface it is a heavy burden. Emotionally, perfectionists are often plagued by anxiety and self-doubt. They may feel like imposters, convinced that any success is temporary and that failure is always just around the corner. This emotional strain can lead to depression and burnout. Physically, the stress of perfectionism can cause headaches, digestive problems, and weaken the immune system. Ironically, perfectionism can also stifle creativity. True creativity thrives on risk and experimentation, but when you are afraid of being imperfect, you become rigid and cautious. In relationships, perfectionism creates distance. When you hide your flaws or judge others harshly, you miss out on genuine connection. True intimacy requires vulnerability and acceptance, both of yourself and of others. Learning to embrace imperfection. The good news is that perfectionism is not a life sentence. You can learn to recognize its patterns and loosen its grip. Start by noticing when perfectionism appears in your life. Are you setting impossible standards for yourself? Do you feel anxious or guilty when things are not perfect? Are you afraid of making mistakes or being judged? Treat yourself with kindness. When you make a mistake, remind yourself that everyone does. Instead of criticizing yourself, try to learn from the experience and move on. Self-compassion does not mean giving up on your goals. It means recognizing that your worth is not tied to being perfect. Set realistic goals. Break big tasks into smaller steps. Focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate your achievements, no matter how small. Accept that mistakes and setbacks are part of learning. Practice good enough. Sometimes good enough really is good enough. Let go of the need for everything to be flawless. This does not mean being careless, but recognizing that perfection is often an unattainable ideal. Stop comparing yourself to others. Everyone has a unique journey. Focus on your own growth. Remember that social media rarely shows the full story. Find joy in the process, not just the outcome. Whether you are working, learning, or building relationships, savor the journey. Happiness is found in the steps you take along the way. If perfectionism is causing significant distress, consider seeking help from a therapist. Cognitive behavioral therapy can help you identify and change perfectionist thought patterns. Mindfulness practices can help you stay grounded in the present and reduce anxiety. Real-life examples. Consider Sarah, a student who always aimed for perfect grades. Each time she fell short, she felt like a failure. Over time, this pressure led to anxiety and burnout. With support, Sarah learned to accept mistakes and appreciate her efforts, not just her results. Or think of David, a professional who constantly compared himself to his colleagues. Fear of making mistakes made him hesitant to take risks. By practicing self-compassion and challenging his beliefs, David discovered that authenticity was more valuable than perfection. These stories are everywhere. The struggle with perfectionism is common, but so is the possibility for change. Philosophical reflections, the value of imperfection. The Japanese concept of wabi-sabi celebrates the beauty of imperfection and impermanence. Cracks in a ceramic bowl, the fading of autumn leaves, these are not flaws, but marks of authenticity and life. In the same way, our imperfections make us real. Our scars, our failures, and our struggles are part of our story. They remind us that we are alive, that we have tried, and that we have grown. As the poet Leonard Cohen wrote, there is a crack in everything. That is how the light gets in. Moving forward, freedom in imperfection. Perfectionism can be a powerful motivator, but when it becomes a prison, it limits our potential and our joy. By accepting ourselves as we are, with all our flaws, we open the door to freedom, creativity, and fulfillment. You are not alone in your struggles. Everyone has moments of doubt and imperfection. What matters is not whether you are perfect, but whether you are willing to grow, to learn, and to be kind to yourself along the way. Conclusion and call to action. Perfection is not a destination, but an illusion. Imperfection is not a weakness, but a sign of our humanity. By letting go of the need to be perfect, you can find peace, happiness, and meaning. So next time you feel the pressure to be flawless, pause and ask yourself, what would happen if I allowed myself to be just good enough? What might I discover about myself and my world? Have you struggled with perfectionism? Do you ever feel like you are never enough? Share your story in the comments or write a message to your past self. And if you want to explore more about the inner world, subscribe to this channel so we can continue this journey together. Thank you for listening, and remember, you are enough just as you are.